Rule and Constitutions of the Order of St. Augustine, Chapter 2, The Spirituality of the Order, number 35. Following the example of St. Augustine, love for the Church brings us to a total availability for its needs by accepting the tasks which the Church asks of us, according to the charism of the order. Friars should remember that this availability for service to the Church constitutes one of the essential characteristics of Augustinian spirituality. In addition, when we are open to the world, we feel ourselves in solidarity with the human family and involved in its concerns, especially through an openness to the needs of the poor and the suffering, and the knowledge that the more we are united to Christ, the more fruitful will our apostolate be. 36. Apostolic activity as a service of charity ought to spring up almost as a necessity of handing on to others the ineffable riches of Christ, which the friars acquire in community and pass on to others through the community. Augustinian activity, therefore, is an exterior activity springing from a deep and strong interior community life. The work of the individual friars receives help from the community and is supported by it. We're all apostles, since we all pray, work, and mutually assist each other. 37. We must value the apostolate as an integral part of our religious life, which is transformed into mission, as was the entire life of Jesus. The works of the apostolate express and increase Christ's love, whose example, together with that of the apostles, we follow, whether we are engaged in contemplation or in proclaiming the kingdom of God. Therefore, in all things, we must try to show forth Christ, the Christ who is humble and sincere, unaffected and prudent, patient and cheerful, obedient to the will of the Father, and relying on his providence. 38. Through the apostolate, we participate in the universal mission of the Church, which proclaims the gospel to all creatures. Stimulated by charity and the needs of the brotherhood through our lives and work, we communicate all that God has deemed to work in us and in our community, conscious that the fundamental work of the apostolate consists in taking care of what we are within the Church. For this reason, let us always remember that community life in itself is the essential gospel value, which calls for a total dedication and in which we find the basis and the sustaining force of our service to the Church and to the world. 39. Finally, in order that our order may always go forward in keeping with its true spirituality, the friars should strive to offer free service to God, not forced by necessity, but moved by love. Without seeking their own righteousness, let them do all things for the glory of God, who works all things in all. Let them live in the assurance that it is a grace of God that the brothers live in community. It is not the result of their own doing or their own merits. Rather, it is His gift. This is to fulfill the saying of the rule that we should observe all our obligations in a spirit of charity, as lovers of spiritual beauty, not as slaves living under the law, but as men living in freedom under grace. We who have been freely created and redeemed, freely called and justified, should render thanks to God and carry out our mission in peace and humility, rejoicing in hope and the expectation the crown of life, by which God, in rewarding our good deeds, will in fact be doing nothing more than crowning his own gifts.